Hello. Hello, am I audible? Hello, am I audible? So students, let us start with our let us continue with our topic of fundamental rights. We have already reached till article 22. We have completed article 22. Now we have to move forward with article 23 and 24, which is right against exploitation. So to understand right against exploitation, we have to understand first that what do we mean by exploitation. See, if you see closely, all the rights have been given to the citizen, right of equality, freedom, liberty, so that they can grow to their optimum limit. And when the human beings living within a nation, the confinement of the nation grows, the nation itself starts to develop more resources, mental resources, spiritual resources, material resources. They all start to grow with the growth of the human being. And for that reason, providing fundamental right of equality in the society, freedom to express, freedom of movement, freedom of profession, everything is required. So is the right of liberty, which is a very important right. We have already seen right to life and personal liberty, how important that is, and after the Gopalan case, the Menaka Gandhi case, how important it has become through several interpretations and directions of the Supreme Court. Now comes a very important right. Then we have also seen rights of the people who are arrested. There are also people who are arrested, no? They must be having some right, because when it comes to liberty, liberty is not confined to the people who are free. There is also some sort of dignified life which a prisoner wants, which a person who has been arrested wants. Whether he has been arrested with the right procedure or not, that needs to be seen. The procedure has to be just, proper and reasonable. So we have studied everything. Now this fundamental right chapter is expanding, it's is spreading and becoming more meaningful as we go forward, because more and more rights which are given to the citizens of the country, and sometimes also to the non-citizens and the aliens who are traveling into the country or living here, it tells and it reflects the idea which our forefathers have, the framers of our constitution have. And one of such great idea is reflected through our present topic, the topic of today, right against exploitation. So these are different facets of rights which are being given: equality, freedom, liberty, and the thing which is added into it is exploitation. We also have freedom of religion, the topic which is going to come next. But against exploitation, because we have seen human beings exploit another human beings if they have been given the freedom to do so. So of course, as we have seen, freedom and liberty is not absolute. your freedom must be in line with the freedom of the other person. It must not infringe or affect or contravene the freedom or the liberty of the other person. So what is important here? That any sort of exploitation done within the country of the citizens and of the non-citizens must be stopped at any cost, and that is the reason these two articles, because article 23 and article 24 are involved in this chapter of fundamental right, where right against exploitation is given. This has been made a fundamental right because there have been problems in our society where one human being has been exploited by another human being. Especially the weaker sections of the society have been exploited too badly. You must have heard about begar, you must have heard about bonded labor or forced labor. An employer wants to save money and he wants cheaper employee, the one who can work at the maximum capacity with as little money as he can pay. Who are the best who can do that? If you think about it, children, they don't demand much money and they can do job as energetically as a young man, an adult man. But is it correct for a developed and a civilized society to exploit children? There is trafficking in human being, where human being is sold, purchased like chattels. Women have been trafficked because of the immoral activities. Children have been trafficked for immoral activities along with begging. Those sort of activities needs to be stopped, and it has to be given the stature of fundamental right to the citizens that any such exploitation, if done, would be taken care directly by the Supreme Court under Article 32 and the High Courts under Article 226. So, we could have made law, and there have been laws which have been made to stop any sort of exploitation, against prostitution, against child labor, the Factory Act, the Mines Act, and different kind of acts have been done for equal pay for the equal work, sort of a thing, so that there is equality in the society. There have been statutes, there have been laws which have been made, but to give this area, exploitation, the status of fundamental right reflects the thought process of our constitution framers, who wanted that no citizen of this country must be exploited because the disparity among the classes is too much. The economic disparity is huge. There are several sections of the society which are being historically exploited. Also women and children and the older people, they are also being exploited. So, to give this article the stature of fundamental right tells the greatness with which we have laid the foundation of our country. So, now let us come directly to this to these articles, and let us understand the word exploitation first. Exploitation, as explained, as given in article 23 and 24, we will see it separately. If you see exploitation, article 23, what does it talk about? It talks about begar. It talks about trafficking in human beings, and it also talks about forced labor. You see these three important things: forced labor, trafficking, and begar. We will see them one by one. What do you understand by the term begar? Begar is something which is compulsory or forced work without any remuneration. When you are not paid anything, not paid a penny, and you have been forced to work, that comes under begar. It's a sort of Indian practice which have been prevalent before the commencement of the constitution, and in the constitution we have given it the stature of fundamental right, and it has been termed as a major exploitation of the human being which must be stopped by the state, and state on the other hand must not do it. That any work, any person who is working, it is his fundamental right to get some payment out of it. Okay, you can go on working for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months without any pay, that will turn out to be begar, or that will turn out to be a forced labor if you have been forced to work. So it is paramount to understand that any sort of activity where a human being has been forced to work, have been made compulsorily to work without any remuneration, will be called as begar. This is termed invalid and a sort of exploitation under our constitution, and this is not allowed in India. Begar is not allowed in India. Again I repeat it, it is compulsory or forced work without any remuneration. Don't you think the fundamental right of a human being is exploited when he has been given no choice to get out of the work which he doesn't want to do, because he has been forced to work like that, and on the other hand he has not been given the remuneration for that. So completely this is against the human liberty and a dignified life. Your freedom of choice, your freedom to earn respectful amount of money from the work which you are doing, everything has been hampered. Second thing is trafficking. If you see trafficking, mostly trafficking is done in women for the immoral activities such as prostitution, and in children. The constitution abolishes through article 23 clause 1 the trafficking in human being. The girls have been trafficked, they have been sold like chattels, children and women, and they have been forced into prostitution. There are also statues made in our country to help such women to live a dignified life after they have been saved, and also if they have given birth to any children, those children have also been taken care of by several NGOs and also primarily by the government, so that their fundamental right is restored. So exploitation of women can be done in trafficking when she is sold like chattels, also in children. Then comes forced labor. When you talk about forced word, in one of its interpretations, Supreme Court has said that when you say forced, it should be in line with begar or trafficking. For example, if the state starts conscription, which is compulsory military service for young people above the age of 18 till the age of 25, or let's say 28, whatever it is, or the state demands that a section of people should work, can that also be called as forced labor? In a way it may look forced, but it is not, because the state is calling us for national duty under article 51A. It is your duty to protect and save your nation. So any such call given by the state for any such work will not be considered under article 23 clause 1 as exploitation. So this is an exception given in the constitution, where state can request or can order the citizens to come and work, and it is not necessary for state to pay remuneration for that also. Supreme Court has said this, that if state is asking or requesting or ordering all the citizens of the country to come and serve the nation for a particular purpose, and the state is not paying any remuneration for that, it will not be considered as forced labor, because it comes under the duty of a human being, of the citizen of this country, to serve the nation. So, activities such as conscription is not to be called forced, but anything in line with trafficking and begar, you have to understand what forced means. For example, a person is forced physically. A person is forced physically to work. Physically the person is forced. अभी मैं कोई इंसान है, वो दूसरे इंसान के कनपट्टी पे गोली लगा के बोले कि तेरे को काम करना पड़ेगा, नहीं तो मैं गोली मार दूंगा. नाउ दिस इज कॉल्ड फोर्स. किसी भी तरह का काम हो, किसी का बच्चा किडनैप कर लिया, and then they are asking the parents to work in one or the other way, that's also forced. There are also physical, this is, we can call it physical compulsion. There is also economic compulsion. There is also economic compulsion. If you see very closely, there are people who are willing to work even in subhuman conditions with very little payment, just because they have been compelled by the circumstances, economically compelled by the circumstances to work. And if you are entertaining such thing just for your selfish measures, so that you are getting an employee who is willing to work for very less amount of money in very subhuman condition, just for your selfish end, that you can save some money, that is exploitation. That is a forced labor. That is also abolished or been declared as invalid under Article 20. It will attract Article 23(1), and it will be hampering or contravening of the fundamental right of a citizen if any sort of compulsion or force is applied for to such a human being for any kind of work. So, we have to understand the labor must not be forced. For example, what about labor work in prison? Sometimes the prisoner has been put to hard work, but then you have to pay them. When a prisoner comes out of the jail, he is entitled to get amount of money which is equivalent to his work. And you should not put prisoners to such a work which is going to hamper their health, which is going to put them under some sort of physical or mental agony. The state, because they are in prison, they don't have much right, so to say, and also the state is far more powerful in the jail than it is on the street outside, where free human beings are roaming freely. So, we have to understand and give some fundamental rights to prisoners also, that they are not exploited. If you remember, one person must not be punished for the same crime twice. Double jeopardy. Think about it. If a person is already serving a jail term for 14 years, let's say, and then the kind of work which is he doing inside the jail, which is so hard that it is equivalent to another punishment, then what can we say? That the person has been punished twice for the same crime, isn't it? So, the hard work done by prisoner has not to be so hard that it starts to affect their mental and emotional well-being. Along with it, they need to be paid for that. When a person comes out of the jail, he is entitled to get the money which he has earned as a labor within the jail. Another term is bonded labor. This is a relic of a feudal system which has been practiced in the medieval times in India, and in pre-constitutional era this was very much prevalent. Even after the constitution got commenced, it was prevalent in India. What does bonded labor means? That a person works for years for a particular human being, just because he has taken some debt. To repay that debt, to repay a debt, कर्ज को उतारने के लिए the person works for years without getting any remuneration. That's called bonded labor. It's sort of a slavery. It is slavery where you work and do not get anything back in return. No money, no dignified life. So again, this is a sort of exploitation of the human being. He cannot grow to his optimum limits if he has been exploited like this in slavery. So bonded labor has been abolished in India, but law is made, it has been abolished, it has been termed under the category of forced labor. If you see bonded labor, it comes under the category of forced labor. It attracts Article 23, Clause 1. But the administration has not paid much attention to this. There are still cases of bonded labor in this country, especially in tribals and rural areas. So this is a very sad affair, and we have seen begar, we have seen trafficking, we have seen forced labor. The prisoners must not be forced. The compulsion must not be physical or economical or legal also. That a person has been forced legally, that you will be fined or you will be confined for not doing any sort of work, that's also forced. Supreme Court has also said that if you employ a person, this person is working under you in subhuman condition, in sub or inhuman condition, whatever amount of money you are giving him, again it will be considered as forced labor. Then a person is working under you but getting very less amount of money. Whatever the market rate is, he is getting very less amount of money. That will also be considered as forced labor. This is sort of an exploitation done by you, because you are trying to extract work from the person and you are not paying against that work. That's also the less amount of money you pay, or you made the human being work in subhuman or inhuman condition. That's also a sort of forced labor. These are the interpretation of the word forced by Supreme Court. Also think about one more condition where there is exploitation and discrimination on the basis of sex. A woman is paid far less than a man. That will also be considered under forced labor. So Supreme Court in several of its judgment have given a judgment in favor of women who was paid very less compared to men for the same nature of the work and for the same amount of the work. Under the same employee, for the same nature of the work, same amount of the work, for the same post, a woman is paid less and a man is paid more. That's also a sort of forced labor, which is infringing the fundamental right of the women. So when state is making or any such law, or state is requesting or ordering the citizens of the country to come forward for some national duty, such as conscription in the army or anything like that, if there is, let's say, a disaster situation and the disaster management require the service of the community, then the state can order the citizens to come up and work, and state is not entitled to pay for such activity. But state at the same time must not discriminate on the basis of religion, race, caste or classes, or any of them. Religion, race, caste, classes, or any of them. Now if you see, one thing is missing: sex. That means state can discriminate on the basis of sex. It may ask only men to come, not women, for any work, but not on the basis of religion, race, caste, sex, that a person belonging to or a group of people belonging to a particular religion or caste must come and work. This state cannot do. What state can do is, it can order the human beings to come up and work for some sort of national duty, and those people will be men, not women. That is allowed. But religion, race, caste, sex, these must not be the ground of discrimination. So this is Article 23, and the word exploitation here means begar, trafficking in human being and forced labor. Article 24 is again a unique article which saves the children, little children. Article 24 talks about child labor. This has to be abolished. The child labor needs to be abolished and is abolished, but is not totally abolished. It's not completely abolished. There is a half ban on child labor, not a total ban on child labor, because there has been fight about what a child is, what is the definition of child. So, children below the age of 14 years, children below the age of 14 years must not be put into any hazardous activity. That is what is written in Article 24, that the child labor must be abolished and any children below the age of 14 years must not be put into any hazardous activity. The hazardous activity could be working in mines, working in factories, working in subhuman, inhuman conditions. But why there is not complete ban on child labor? If you put complete ban, look at the socio-economic condition of the country. Let's say there is a family of a poor person, poor labor, who goes out to work, earns whatever he has and eats, and whatever he eats, there is nothing saved for the next day. And if they have, let's say, 3 children and they also go out and work and come back with some amount of money which they can save. So 3 children plus 2, husband and wife, if all the 5 are earning, they at least have something for the next day. So looking at the socio-economic condition of the country, if you put a total ban on child labor, all the 3 people, all the 3 children will not be able to work and not be able to bring back the resources for the family. In such a situation, what will they do? They will sit at home, or either they will go to the school. And when they will go to the school, which of course state takes care of the education, which is free and has been made a fundamental right under Article 21A. But look at the condition of the poor person, that he will not be able to feed his children properly. He will not be able to give the necessary basics of life to these children, and to maintain that basics of life, basic necessities of life, sometimes it becomes important for the children below the age of 18 also to go out and work, so that they can contribute in the family income. They can bring back several resources which can help the family to sustain for a longer period. So more hands, more money. That is the reason why Supreme Court has not put a total ban on the child labor. Also why not the constitutional framers were very strict when it comes to child labor. Looking at the socio-economic condition of the country, where sometimes the child have to contribute for the family income. So this is what is there in Article 24, but you must understand that children below the age of 14 years must not be put into hazardous activities. Children from the age group of 6 to 14, it is the duty of the parents to send them to school. Education is needed for, and that has been made a duty and a fundamental right of the children. Right to education, 6 to 14, the children must be there in the school studying. and the state takes care of their food and other requirements through midday meal scheme or through other schemes where nutritional food has been provided to children. So, it is a compact thing that if you are not allowing the children below the age of 14 to go and work in several sectors, then where will they go? Of course, they will go to the school. If they go to the school and study, who will take care of their food? The state will take care of their food. So, state is providing food, the state is providing education also. After 14 years, you can go out and work, but not in hazardous activities. Before 14 years, you cannot work in any activity. Below 18 years, you can work in, cannot work in hazardous activities, sorry. So, this is all about article 23 and 24, which tries to save children, women and other people from forced labor, from begar, from trafficking. And it has been given the stature of fundamental right because it was thought that trafficking in human being, bonded labor, forced labor, begar, exploitation of children as child labor will cause society too much harm, and that will create some sort of differentiation in the society, some sort of disharmony in the society where one class exploits the other class. So, to stop this, article 24 and article 23 have been enshrined in the constitution to give the right, the fundamental right against exploitation. So, thank you very much for joining me. Next topic would be right to religion. From article 25 to 28 we will study all the facets of this right. Thank you.